Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, February 20th. Thank you guys all for coming out. We're going to go through some budgets. Again, before we start that, the first item on our agenda is to vote on reorganization of the committee. I would like to remain as chair, excuse me, but if anyone else is interested, you're more than well to, let's talk about it.
I would like you to remain as chair as well.
All right, thank you. Jerry, are
I
you?
would like to remain as a vice chair.
And according to the notes, we have Cheryl down as the clerk.
Okay.
My only question is, how do you stay on chair if you're not here?
Me as a vice chair,
Yes.
Skype.
I will be participating in
Oh,
all
yeah,
the
no.
meetings.
I mean, like, will you
Yeah,
be
I
here
gotta-
for the annual meeting?
I will be here for the
Okay,
town
yeah.
meeting,
Okay.
yes, yes.
That's kind of where I was heading
Yeah,
more than
that's
anything
important,
else.
yeah, I'll be here for that, and
Okay.
that's important
I have
thing
no
to be
problem.
at.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll
Or
make a
any
motion.
further discussion?
Motion that we keep the officers as appointed or mentioned.
Did I cut you off, Jen?
No, I just wanted, I thought I heard something about Jerry covering for you when you have to recuse yourself, and she can't do that on the phone or something like that.
Right,
Is that
somebody else,
gonna work out?
somebody else can do it.
Oh, 'cause somebody else can do it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
I mean, because if I wasn't here,
Yeah.
it'd be the same thing, suppose I wasn't at a meeting, and Meredith couldn't do it, somebody
Right.
else would do it, so I didn't see that as a deal breaker.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I made the motion.
All
to
right.
Keep the officers as the
Second.
same.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to, since Annie is already here, let's jump ahead to the budget hearings at 6:40. How are you, Annie?
I'm wonderful.
Getting ready for the presidential election.
Oh, yeah.
How's that going?
Do we have a lot of early voters? Oh, that we want to?
We won't, I don't know yet, because it
24th.
starts Monday.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to expect.
Okay.
Because we've never had it for a primary before, so. But the other two ones we've had, they've been very busy, so, yeah, we'll see. We're getting ready, we're almost ready.
When is Massachusetts primary?
It's the 3rd, the
March
3rd of
3rd.
March.
Oh, okay, so it's coming up.
Yeah, so the early voting is the 24th through the 28th, that 5-day span next week, and then the voting is Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yep.
Is the early stuff all done through the mail?
No, you come in to the, this is the town hall, and you vote at the town hall. It goes in an envelope just like absentee ballot does, and then on election day, we basically stand in your place, check you in, check you out, open the envelope, throw it through the machine.
Oh, I see.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that's how the mechanics of it work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the state says that no vote can be cast until election day, so we can't cast them through the
Oh, yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So we have to put them in envelopes and that you sign, and it has your information on it, so we can check you in and check you out.
But does that mean you get to see what that person voted?
Well, yeah, if I had the time to look at everybody,
I suppose.
or
that's a
the
good
desire.
Or the desire, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, you
Yeah.
don't seal the envelope?
You seal the envelope, but we
Oh,
have,
but then
but
you
we
take
have
it
to
out.
open it and put it through the machine, but you
Yeah.
know, we do that with absentee ballots too, but,
Oh.
you know, I don't look at what people
Plenty of
vote.
time to peruse it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm not supposed to, and
Right,
second of all, I don't
I
care.
don't care.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump to budget 1610.
Okay, that's the town clerk budget. So that's pretty much the same increase in the clerical salaries, that's contractual with Sharon. Then I asked for a 3.5% raise. The longevity went up because Sharon's now starting into her 6th year, so she gets longevity. So I get 500, she gets 300. So that went up $300. And then the office supplies went down because last year I asked for money to buy software for my boards, commissions, ethics, all that, and I bought the software, so I don't need to buy it again this year, just the $500 for the maintenance of it.
Scott, I just made a change to the spreadsheet so I could see the other columns. Did that just pop up for all of you guys too? No.
Oh, dang it, and I hit it. Because I'm on the last one, so I can't see my numbers. So we have to switch. Has to go W to A.
No, you have to, wait a minute. No, you have to leave it open so we can all play nice.
Okay, sorry about that, I didn't realize that.
That's okay.
Say that again. If I scroll all the way over, I'm gonna see what you just typed?
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone can see.
Scott had the columns hidden so we could only see his name, so I just unhid them, so it probably messed with his machine.
I was wondering why I
Yeah.
could only
Really?
see his name.
Right, so I changed it
It's
now. I can
easier to
see our-
hide it when you're typing, because it comes over,
Exactly.
yeah.
But because we're all sharing the same
I
live
gotcha.
document,
Oh,
we
okay.
can't do
Like,
that.
still learning,
Oh, there's
sorry
a
about that.
column for everybody, huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I apologize, the office supplies went down, I was trying to.
It
figure
went
this
down, well, it went down $2,100, because last year I had asked for money to purchase a software program to keep track of all the boards and commissions and their ethics and open meeting law. So I purchased that last year with the $2,100. It also was a $495 service fee, that is still, I have to pay that yearly for it, but I took out the $2,100 because I don't need it this year.
How is it? Does it help?
Oh, it's great.
Good.
It is really great.
Good.
Yep.
Was that you? That was you.
Oh, well, it affects everybody? Oh,
Yes.
Jeez, okay, I'm sorry.
Right, that's what I,
Are you not doing that?
I have to make your column wider so I can see the whole thing.
Well, every time anyone types anything, we all see it.
Okay, cool.
So if you make something smaller, it makes it smaller for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't wrap, huh, the comments?
No,
Just expand it, yeah.
that's okay. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're listening, Annie, I swear.
That's all right.
I know, he sounds quite rude.
I've gone over it. I don't know if you have any questions.
No, I don't.
So, okay, all right. So,
Seems straightforward.
you asked for 3.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Could you have asked for more?
Oh, sure, I could have asked for anything. I mean, I can ask for anything as an elected official,
Okay.
but I mean, I just hear that, people are getting around the 3.5%. They have, a lot of them, they get evaluated. I don't get evaluated. I don't have, and so they can earn extra points or whatever, and I don't get that. So I kind of just try
That's
to,
evaluated at the ballot box.
at the ballot box, yes, so.
Do you know if on the evaluations that other department heads have to do, what the max percentage was on that, if they hit all their goals?
I think it was 3.5%.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Yep.
Okay,
That's where I came up with the 3.5%.
perfect, okay.
Yeah. And then there's that $1,000 in there because I earned my CMMC, so that I get by Mass General Law every year.
Preservation of records, is that because that's
We don't-
community preservation?
Yeah, we do that through the community preservation now.
How much are you doing a year with that? It used to be 5 and then 10.
It used to be, yeah, and then I got 20,000 2 years ago, and I got 15 last year. I'm asking for 10 this year because I'm getting to the point where, because you can only do anything that's 50 years or older, and I'm getting,
You're getting caught up.
yeah, so when the guy came to do my,
Nick Guy.
yeah, I did. I meant to say, I started to say man, and then I said guy, so when he came,
He's Irish.
yeah,
He is now.
Sorry.
he said that, he recommended to me that I ask for less because I don't have a lot to do, and that maybe the assessor's office could ask for more because
catch
they
up.
still have a lot to catch up on.
Well, that makes sense.
So, I went for 10, and I think they're gonna go for 15.
That's
try to
good
get-
interdepartmental cooperation.
Right,
It
right.
is.
That's
It
very
is.
good.
Yep, so,
So you can only do stuff that's 50 years
yeah,
old
well, the
or
historical commission, they determine what is a historical record, and they say 50 years. I could go to them and say, hey, can you say 25, we'll see. Theyr the ones that determine
There are no state mandates
on what a
archiving?
no, not that I know of, no.
Interesting.
And this is just money this is what the CPC says, that
Right.
you have to, that your historical, it has to be historical records. And then it's the historical commission that decides what they consider historical records.
Oh, wow. I thought it was a state program that said this is what you have to archive. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, well, you have to hold on to all of that stuff, but it's just a matter of when you move it into, from just your standard preservation to, you know, a more serious
Historic.
historic preservation, yeah.
Interesting.
Did the original documents then go off-site after you've
They go off-
digitized them?
They go off-site and they, but they come back all preserved in books.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
you're more than welcome to come down at any time and see them, yeah.
I didn't know if they were stored remotely as
No,
well.
no,
okay.
no,
So you still have to store them all.
Yep.
yeah.
All right, does anyone have any other questions on the town clerk budget? Not hearing any. Let's move on to 1630, the elections and registration.
Okay, that's based on how many elections I have. I have 4 for the calendar year, 3 for this fiscal year. So, and the cost of, if you look, you can see that the cost of minimum wage went up. It went up to $2.75, and then it's going up to, $12.75, and then it's going up to $13.50. So I had to increase the costs on what it would cost for my poll workers to work at the elections. And then I also have 3 poll books that I use for early voting and for town meeting. And when I bought them for the first 2 years, the service contract was included, and now I have to pay for those, a service contract for those. So I had to include them into the office supply line. And then this is the last year of my stipend for federal census coordinator. So there's one more year, this fiscal year coming up, and then that will stop. The census will be over, the 2020 census.
Oh, so that's
That's
just a
just something,
one-year line.
it comes in, it's supposed to be for 4 years, that I didn't put it in the first year, I forgot, so we split it into 3 years, but it's usually $1,000 for 4 years, because you start 4 years prior to it doing work, and you go up until the year after.
So the whole, really this whole 9,000 increase is because we have more elections?
Yep, yeah, basically is what it is, yes.
And the-
Are you
and
the
minimum
appointed
wage.
official?
Yes, I'm one of the appointed officials. The others are board of registrars.
Okay.
So I get $2,000 stipend for running elections, and then the 2008 is for the board of registrars, which I'm part of too, so I get a stipend out of that as well.
That's not a problem for me. The election officials line, that's because of the minimum wage, was that what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, those are
How many
my,
election officials?
it depends on the election.
Yeah, because there's, how many, there's 4 elections this year?
Yeah, so there's, during the town election, I have 4 check-ins and check-outs, a warden and a clerk. Primaries, state elections, I have to bring in extra people, especially for early voting, because I have to, people that have to process that. It took, the last election, it took 3 hours per precinct to process early voting. So 6 hours total in the day, and I had 3 people working on
You
it.
had a lot of people then
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
early voting. Wow.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yep,
So early voting is a state law? Or is it
Yes.
It's not a federal law, it's just a
the state legislation, yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to offer it.
Yep,
We have to
Yep.
offer it, we have to pay for it.
yeah. They do a reimbursement for early voting, but it's a unfunded mandate, so it's a reimbursement. So it goes back into the general fund, so I don't get it. After the election, I'll send them a spreadsheet saying what I spent. They'll decide to reimburse, but it goes to the town as a general fund, so I have to have the money in my budget to pay for it.
Right, right.
So do we get the money back, or is it just
You
if
get-
they feel like it?
Well, you get they'll say, oh, yeah, that qualifies for the unfunded mandate, or maybe this doesn't. But everything I put in 2 years ago for the state election, we got reimbursed for.
That's good.
Yeah.
The reason I'm laughing is because everything with the state is you get partial reimbursement.
Yeah,
If you like.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if you have any other questions.
So police details?
Yeah, you have to have a police officer at every election, yeah.
Especially this year.
Yeah. I know, I had my,
To your quarters.
4 years ago, I had my first election. Interesting. I did have to use my police officer a couple of
Really?
times.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because
Outside
people
or
were
in?
inside the polls, because people were very upset because they wanted to vote a certain party and couldn't,
Oh,
so,
at a primary or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because once you declare, that's it.
yep, yep. So,
What does that mean, once you declare?
well, like if you're a Democrat,
Yeah.
you can only get a Democratic ballot. And if
For the
you're,
primary,
for
right?
the primary, and if you're a Republican, you can only get a Republican ballot. So some people years ago were Democrats, say, and they don't usually vote in primaries, but this was an important primary, so they came out to vote, and they wanted to vote Republican, and it was like, you can't, you're a Democrat. You changed my, like they got very upset, very
But
upset.
independents get to pick what they
Yep,
want?
yep.
Yeah.
And designees, there's 26 designations in the state. And 4 of them are parties now. So we have the Republican, the Democratic, the Libertarian, and the Green Rainbow. So those are the 4 ballots we have for the primary. Everyone else is a designation, so if you're in that designation or you're unenrolled, then you get to pick what party you want.
A lot.
Yeah, I didn't
Rainbow,
realize.
do they actually have a ballot? the
They
Green-
do, yeah, the Green Rainbow does have a ballot. Yeah, the Libertarians do too, they have people on the, for president, yeah,
Must be interesting people.
yeah. Some of them have very interesting names too, yeah. Yeah,
On that note,
And then moving on.
Does anyone have any other questions on this budget?
oh man,
No?
Pretty straightforward.
All right, well, hearing that, I think you're all set, Annie, thank you
well, I just
very
have the
much.
one more, the Veterans and Memorial Day,
Okay.
6920.
Oh, it's
So
not,
that was bumped into a
That's-
March meeting under the ones that you presented.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, it's very simple. I mean, last year I asked for 1,700 because the parade was in our town. This year, the parade's not in our town.
what was the budget number?
6920, I think.
6920.
Thank you.
What's the name?
Veterans and Memorial Day.
So it's going down
Yep.
because the parade's not here.
Parade's not here this year.
Okay.
So it's just for flags, et cetera, for Memorial Day that we put on the grave.
All right, anyone have any questions on that budget? All right, hearing none, do you have any others?
No, I'm done.
All right,
Thank goodness.
Thank you.
All right.
thank you for coming in,
Okay,
Annie.
you're welcome.
Good luck at the primary. I hope you don't need the police detail again.
Thanks. Oh, you want me to take that now?
Can I?
Yep.
Mind? Sorry.
Weird how it moves
I'm not
when
even sure
somebody
what
else
that
moves.
I
it,
know,
so
it
you
was,
go to
was-
type and.
yeah, it was a little disconcerting.
Thank you, I
have-
really
yep.
appreciate it.
No problem.
So I think I may have found your problem looking up personal for the clerk.
We meet again. You guys are following me.
Yeah, we figured that out.
typing
you.
in your block, how do you get it to go all the way across?
You just type and then it just.
Mine just only did that much and stopped.
Really? I don't know, I just typed and it
Should
went.
be able to go right across, right? Is it wrapping?
Yeah, I don't know how you went around it.
I just typed it in the wrong place.
It's gotta be weird.
Fine, I'll take the front seat, you take the back seat.
I'll take the back seat.
Wayne's doing all the talking anyway.
We'll have
Yeah,
to,
you're go up.
we'll have to put the text wrapping on these columns and that way. See what,
So what you
How did you get that?
I type in water space 45.
what is it, 4,500?
Oh, there.
How are you guys doing?
Good, how about yourself?
Good, thank you.
We're getting
We're
used to
No,
it.
if you just do select all, delete, it takes care of everything.
No, it's one live document, we would all be in trouble. Who did it? Or actually, how would they know who did it? Scott.
A lot of
It's
things on
always
Facebook
Scott.
always
about
Scott.
you guys.
Hey, that's why I'm not on Facebook.
Yeah,
I don't go out there.
That's how you can do it. You guys should be able to put a line in and out.
all right.
All right,
Sorry.
nice to see you.
Yep.
All right, guys, we're on budget 4,500. Everybody there?
I thought it was.
All right.
So I'll talk about the lines that changed.
Yes, let's talk about the lines that changed.
All right, so if I go to,
Notes the old fashioned way.
yep, it is a lot easier than looking at the screen.
Right now, talking about the lines that changed, yes.
No,
Your computer.
no, they don't give me any.
Yeah, that'll, yeah, that'll.
That's okay, I can't read those little
I
screens and
know,
the
I know, you're
thing.
telling me.
I have these glasses and they're still not working.
All right.
All right, so line 51111, I know it says over to the side 2.76, but it's not, it's a 2.5% raise.
Appointed
So-
official, and who would that
That-
represent?
that's me.
That's you.
So
Okay.
why is it saying 2.76?
I have no idea, but I know I'd love to put mine up to 2.76, but
Contractual or you're?
it's
that's
contractual.
From way back.
Are you there? I'm not there. What's going on? I don't know.
We're all on the same page?
So you would have.
These
I gotta move fast then
These
while
are
you're
new
not there
for
yet.
us, you know.
Do we have printed copies? Mine's
No.
not working.
You do not.
You don't? No.
91.
Nope, there is a printed copy in
No,
your,
it's
meeting
2.7.
packet.
Oh, there is? I'm sorry.
There's just no personnel sheets, but the actual budgets are.
That number came
Two
from
point-
the town,
That
right?
2.76.
Yeah, it's-
that
I don't
math
know
comes
how
out
it-
Right. So $2,805 is 2.76 more than the 101,591.
So maybe the old number wasn't correct. I don't think it was correct, but I know I only got a 2.5% raise.
Is that on the personnel sheet?
Yes, it should be.
Should be. Find
Either way, it's contractual.
it. Yep,
Yep,
right.
Can I move on?
yep, yep.
All right,
Clerical
so
salaries.
5112, clerical salaries.
So, wait a minute, now the elected official salary, that's
Zero.
zero, okay. I'm looking at the wrong line, okay. I'm sorry, Wayne.
Clerical.
All right, so clerical, that's a step raise, and I believe that they were contracted to get a 2.5% raise for that this year, as their contracts run out.
It should be 2%.
In the next year, oh yeah, it's 2%, yes, I'm sorry, it is 2%, but she has a step raise in there.
Okay.
So when they go from, the step raises, is that from category to category?
No,
That's
she's,
just within
she's
the
within her
category.
category, I think they have 10 steps, there's a
Okay.
lot of steps in there.
Okay, so they get a, so they have a step raise, and then they have a
And then she'll have the cost of living, yes.
cost of living, that's, and they're union employees, correct?
Yes, yep, so that's by contract also.
The step is, if I remember right, is just longevity, right? How long? they've
No,
been
no,
there.
she had, so in their job title, when you become a new employee, there's so many steps before you peak out at your max, whatever that job title has for a salary.
So has her position changed?
No, but hasn't been there that long, so I think she's on her third or fourth year. So she's still, I truly believe there's either 8 or 10 steps in her thing. It's not a 5-step thing like the laborers are, the clericals have more steps.
I'm just curious how you achieve a step, though. Is it just
It's by time,
the time?
each
frame,
year,
right?
yeah,
Oh,
by,
okay, so it's the
it's
longevity.
time in, yeah, it's not,
Okay.
I don't call it longevity because that's a whole
That's a
different thing.
Right,
Yeah,
right, but
yeah.
it is based on.
It's based
okay.
on time in, yes.
Okay. What's going on with the labor line?
All right, so there are actually 6 employees in there, 5 are water department, and we moved the GIS out of the GIS line up into the labor line. So that's why you see it looks like 9.4%, but it was just moving her pay up and into there.
So it's the person that does the entry for the GIS?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
No reasons, it's just easier to,
Well, we had heard another group had done that, and it's easier because the GIS will be more for equipment and supplies, and
Yeah, the
there
hard
are
stuff.
fees involved with the licenses.
So where is the GIS line that should?
Well, you'll see it, we'll get
Okay.
there.
zero.
I'm cheating, I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, I was
Where is
looking,
it?
So it's all the way down
Yeah.
at 5301.
5301.
No, actually, is that, no, that's not it.
That's not
That's
it.
the supplies.
No,
Supplies.
it's somewhere down there. I'll let you guys find it.
GIS is,
Engineering.
5301.
Oh, it's
She- she would-
5301.
Yeah, she was- she's
5301.
in there.
Yep, and you see them,
Yeah, and it's negative
dropped
it's
30.
5,000.
negative 33%.
Yeah.
So move to.
Oh,
you
so it
moved
was only
$5,000?
5,000? That wouldn't make up the full 9.9%.
I didn't take the whole line out. Part of it has always been for supplies and fees. There are licensing fees involved
No,
there.
we
No, we're
understand that
talking
part.
about the labor
We
line.
understand
Oh.
the impact on the labor line, because the labor line's up 9.4%.
So we only pay 30% of her salary.
But you
Makes
only
less
had to
sense.
move $5,000 from the GIS line up to this labor line.
Right, because
Okay, so what's the other 21,000?
she wasn't hired at the start of a fiscal year.
No, we're not arguing with that. We're trying to understand what the difference is. So that, of that $26,000 change, 5,000 of it was from the GIS person. What's this
Go
other
back up.
21,000?
Go back up to,
Where am I going up to?
5113.
All right,
So we're saying
You're
if
at
5,000 came
26,000.
up, then what's the other 21?
well, they're also contracted for 2% raises, so that goes across,
Six
So the
people
6
at 2%?
employees at 2%.
Yes.
So that $5,000 also gets a 2% raise?
yes.
Okay, that's not much.
But that's
5,000
only,
doesn't
that's
get it
only
this
a
year,
portion of that employee. We're only
Right.
paying for a piece of that
30%,
GIS person.
I think you said, right?
And I
Yes.
understand
Yeah, but that
that, so
doesn't
that
matter
even
for
makes
what
it
they're
less
asking.
impactful
Right.
to that labor line, if you're only,
Okay.
Yeah.
but the net impact to the water, that 33% is $5,000.
Is 7.59% increase in labor. So if you
Um,
take out that 5,000, that $21,000 increase results in
we added one position from
7.59%.
last year to this year.
It's gotta be
The
something.
top member, the
For the
new.
other 6
Yeah,
people.
The other
that's why
hire.
I'm saying that there are,
That would take-
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe that's not clear. We added a person from last year to this year.
Oh,
I
Oh, so you've
remember we
increased the
discussed
whole
this, we had
beat.
discussed
Okay.
this at town meeting, we were looking to hire somebody else for the department at a higher level of skill to give Wayne some assistance so he could spend more time in the office.
So you
Yeah.
did do that,
That
so you went
that
from 5
person's,
to 6.
right, that
yeah,
person's
we
in
haven't
this
hired
budget
budget.
in there, we
So
haven't
that's
hired
part
them.
of why,
hired them yet?
no, but we're budgeted for, we haven't gotten the,
Oh,
we've been having trouble getting the applicants that meet,
Oh,
that meet
no.
what we need. But that is, you know, it just
That's
dawned on me,
why.
there's this difference, but that
Right.
difference is in part because of,
Hiring this additional
Another
person. Now
person.
that makes sense.
I do remember that discussion last year.
Okay,
and that makes sense.
yep.
Thank you.
Was that a full-time position? That was
yes,
a
40 hours.
40 hours.
Yeah, it was supposed to free you up to do.
I put it on
and we
the
just,
line
we
again.
Yeah.
just can't get qualified
Yeah.
people applying. So
We're
we're
going in a
looking
negative
for other ways.
direction.
You can add it. Read your notes.
So the office manager,
I know it says 3.02 to the side, and I know you're gonna run your calculator and do the numbers, but that's a 2.75% raise.
Why are we having all these issues?
Right, why are,
I calculate my numbers off of her contract to raise it to the next contract, and if I could get the commissioners to agree, I'll give her the 3.02%,
Would it have
and
to
that
do
makes
meeting
it.
goals or anything like that?
Yeah, she met goals, so she was contracted
it's
for
not that much.
2.25, and she made 2 goals.
Yeah, so she still wouldn't be up to the 3.
Actually, I think she made 3 goals. She got 3 goals. It was 2 goals and that other thing.
So you actually do set goals for the office manager, it's not just how long you've been there?
Right,
Actually
no,
have-
there's,
have
that's,
measuring?
the town moved to that format, we followed them,
Okay,
so yes, everybody, yes.
okay.
and you're right, I ran my calculator, that, I mean, it's
I
3.02%.
didn't doubt it,
Yeah.
Sorry.
If it's 3 goals, it would be 3%. If she achieved 3 goals, it would be 3.
Oh, would it?
Okay.
So that's accurate then.
That's not true of labor, though, there's no.
No, they don't have goals, it would be very hard to do that. All right, so the next one would be overtime, 5130. So,
Woo.
we instituted a new flushing program, so if you look at what I've already spent out of my overtime budget, that was spent just by October of the last year. The new flushing program requires more hours out for the guys. So, in this year, when we flush again, it'll probably increase with a little more time. Plus, the guys are also calculated to get a 2% raise. So it did jump to cover for that.
Now, at what point does it become more cost-effective to increase the number of staff versus paying overtime?
Well, staff cost, I want to say that a person hits my books for about $100,000.
Is it possible to get part-time? I don't know how that works. Do they have to be a full-time?
So I'm already bumping things against town hall, and I'm gonna bump things against the commissioners I'm having issues hiring qualified people or candidates with the skills that will help us. So
Just hiring part-time people to do the flushing isn't gonna,
That's not
that doesn't
gonna
help. I actually go out and use so my line is up because I also use the DPW people. We use 2 to 3 people at a time per night when we go out.
one
Do you have to
time,
have special license
It's
to do?
done at night.
Do you need special licenses to do the
For the
flushing?
flushing, no, but my guys are out there with them, so it's not, there are licensed, the DPW guys are with one of us.
Okay, so you have a supervisor who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
And people who do the hard
Yeah,
work?
yep.
Is it possible to strategize their work hours so it's not always, I mean, I know
They do it at
everyone
night,
wants
though.
overtime.
So if you flush during the day, then so you've already seen me on Facebook with
Yes,
the
yes,
lemonade I
yes.
put in the system too early, it's not summertime. But yeah, the yellow water, so if you start somebody's doing their laundry and we flush a hydrant out front,
Yeah.
they won't have just yellow water, there'll be a lot more screaming.
Yeah.
So we don't like doing it at night, but it's done at night to prevent things like that.
How often is it flushing hydrants, how often does a hydrant get flushed?
So it gets done once a year.
Once a year. Okay.
How long does it take to flush a single hydrant?
So they work 7 to 3:30, and then they come back at 7 PM, and they're there sometimes between midnight and 1 o'clock, depending upon where they are in the system and whether they can finish a zone or not.
Well, how many hydrants,
There are over 500 hydrants in town.
and each hydrant takes over 12 hours?
No.
No, it's
they do
not that,
zone.
so
They have to do
so they're
zone.
not
Oh.
spaced, by recommendations, they'd be spaced a lot closer than they are, but they're not. They're spread out, so
Right.
there is a time involved in picking up the water from point A and getting it to point B. And sometimes it's the calculated thing is 20 minutes to some of the hydrants to pick up and move and get clean water to follow through to the next hydrant. So you're
and
not,
also you got gate operation.
and part of the reverse program is we're opening and closing gates. In some places, we're closing 15 gates in a night and opening 15 or more in a night. So closing the larger gates requires setting up the operator and doing it, so you're there maybe on a gate 15 minutes, a gate, just to close it or open it back up. And if you've got 8 or more gates that are being operated, then
Oh, that's
it's
2 hours.
times that. So sometimes we're almost 2 hours before we actually open up the first hydrant. In some cases, we're only opening 2 hydrants and then we're manipulating the gates again. So it's not a nice program.
So what are you doing differently now than in the past? You said you were instituting a type of
So it's
program?
supposed to reverse the flow of the water. And it's becoming a requirement of Mass DEP to do it that way. They want everybody to reverse flush. I mean, you see sometimes, we have complaints about yellow water, yes. But you see some towns where it's not yellow, it's coffee coming out. And not for just a day or two, it's for years. So we don't really have that problem here.
No, I mean, I've lived here my whole life. West Bridgewater was always known for good water.
Right.
Well, it is good.
It is good. There have been
just
some
the color.
instances in the
Hiccups.
past, yes.
One of the things that's complicated the flushing program is the new tank on Walnut Street. We used to flush, both tanks were in the same spot, right on Spring Street. We used to do it in a circle around the tank, clean up the water mains around the tank and work our way out through the town.
And then you'd spiral outward.
It was easy. Now we got another tank on the other end of town, where if we open up a hydrant on Crescent Street, it's not just coming from the Spring Street tank, it's coming from the Walnut Street tank. So
Oh, gosh,
we
that
had to
adds
go
up.
to a whole different formula to clean the mains and to make the thing work.
But they actually have now a whole program to follow when the crews go out, to say shut different valves, run certain hydrants, open other valves, and that's, again, what
it's
DEP
not-
is pushing towards to try to get more effective.
And it becomes
Scour.
really technical, because you have to, in the dark of the night, you're trying to find something that's dark in and of itself,
Is that when they?
and you have to
Yeah.
keep track, so you're flushing, so that whoever's operating the gates isn't just doing that, they're jumping on hydrants too, so you have to keep track of what's open or closed, or pretty soon you have the whole entire system shut off by accident, and that doesn't go well. And we found a few blips in the system, so, I mean, the guys all responded well, we worked them hard and long, and it worked, we got
We
through it
have
the
to be
first year.
careful too, that we open all the gates that we close.
Right,
At the end of the night,
yeah,
everything that you close, if you close 15, you can't, if you miss the gate,
to know.
all of a sudden, you've got a street without water, or you got a street not getting the same water they used to get. Because they got a gate closed, so we have to be very careful with that.
Interesting dilemma.
Now, you had said something about DPW guys helping you. Does that come out of your budget?
Yes, it does, because I pay them.
And that's at,
Out of the
it would be
overtime.
at their own,
Yeah, whatever
Rates.
rate they are paid, yeah, but I think most of them are all, they're in there long-term, so I think they're all at the tops.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of good to hear, knowing that they made it, well, they call it a DPW.
Right.
It's not a complete one.
It's just using the labor pool that we have available to us.
No, that's good. I like hearing that. That's really good.
So just briefly, the yellow will go away over time, or?
So, I know we've been in,
I don't wanna get into a long.
the phone has not called us, the only call I'm getting now, and that'll be I'll be discussing it with the commission, is it's right on Cedar Street. But I haven't heard from anybody, nobody's called in, we log every, we requested,
That's funny.
we request that everybody call in so we can log the calls, we log all of our quality complaints, and we
love that.
respond to them, it's not,
Oh,
we don't sit there, I haven't heard any complaints now except for Cedar Street in more than a few days.
That's good.
That's good.
But there were extenuating circumstances that occurred around that. I did post one letter, but we had the windstorm about 2 weeks back on a Friday, which took out the power and set up the very exact same thing that created the first yellow water issue.
Can't help Mother Nature.
No, I
Well,
know.
the water's okay, it's just the color.
That's, the things that will hurt you or kill you in the water, you're never gonna see, they're microscopic.
Yeah.
The yellow water, it's just iron in solution, and it's been stirred up.
yummy.
So we were on the overtime line. So
Yes.
And we're going down to longevity, which is,
Has there been talk about whether or not it makes sense to add an employee instead of increasing overtime? Was there?
but the overtime line is $40,000. I mean,
We're already trying to add one person, we can't even find one.
I'm trying to add actually two, because we had somebody leave.
I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, so you're not even getting the applicants. It's
Yeah,
not,
right.
it's not
I
even
just,
up
I
for
just
discussion right
don't
now.
see that with a $40,000 line, you're gonna hire an employee, pay them benefits, longevity,
No.
retirement.
No, that's
No,
$100,000.
Oh, no,
Have to
I
be a
agree,
part-time
I agree.
situation.
I was just asking about, has it been discussed? Where are we on it? Do you think that's something you're
If
gonna
I
need in
saw
the
it,
near future?
if I saw it really bad, then you look at it, but it would have to get up to $100,000 before I'd consider somebody, because a person hits my books at about that with benefits, and I don't foresee that. And the guys like having overtime, they don't mind working it, and I have the DPW guys as a potential labor pool when we have issues, just as they call on us, we call on them.
Okay. All right, longevity, I assume, is contractual?
That's contractual, and there are two people currently in it.
All right, what's the allowance and stipend increase?
So I had-
$11,000.
Jumped way down. So I had two people get higher licenses.
Okay.
How many folks do you have in total? Remind me.
Well, budgeted for, so it's 6, 7, there are 7.5 people total budgeted to be in my department.
But you had said one person left.
One person left. So I currently have on my books, I have 2 guys and me.
What?
Yes.
What do you mean, two guys?
Well, we had one, so I don't know if you know that we had a driver fall asleep and he hit our van head-on.
Oh, I did hear
So
about
the
that.
driver probably braced himself. He saw the collision coming and tried to avoid it but could not. So when he braced himself, he hurt his shoulder, so he's been out on workman's comp now for several months.
Oh, no.
The other guy was okay, but if you saw the van, it hit a tree sideways after they were hit. So the van was pretty much, they were lucky to be.
Yeah, they were
And if
very
you saw
lucky.
what happened, we carry some very big, heavy tools with sharp ends.
Yes.
The good thing is there was a cage in the back of the van to prevent them from getting harpooned, but all the paint, everything exploded in the van.
Oh, wow.
So you're budgeted for 6.5 people and you have 3?
So
Yeah.
you're budgeted for 7
But,
and a
well,
half,
for
right?
labor, I'm only
7.5?
budgeted for 5. But there is the GIS person in there, and then I'm also including the office staff, which is a person and a half.
So how many people are doing this flushing?
So when we go out, there are, if there's 3, so
Three?
there's about 6 people that go out.
Okay. All right, moving
Okay.
on.
Are other water departments in other towns having difficulty hiring people as
Yes.
well?
Yes, oh, yeah.
Bridgewater's been running for a couple of years, I think,
For
without.
several years now they've tried, and they've actually,
Labor intensive, isn't it, work?
There's a lot of certificates and.
well, it's
Yeah,
the
that's part of
licenses
the
and
problem.
licensing and then the skill is in what you do.
Yeah. It's dealing with the chemicals and stuff in the treatment plants and getting the right licenses to do it. Because you don't want to license people on, people who don't know what they're adding, can't do the math, so. You don't want them adding that to the, anything to the water.
But
Absolutely.
you would train some that came in.
Yes, but I don't want to, well, I train them, I help them through the licensing. They've changed the licensing and made it very hard now. They want degreed people to enter the profession. But I train them more in the electronics, the electrical, the instrumentation, the chemistry of it, and the other parts.
Somewhat too.
There's more to it than just the distributing and treating the water. And that's what the windstorms took out on me, and I was in most of those, the 2 weekends when that occurred, I was in.
All right, let's see, what other changes? Engineering services?
So I did go up, so if you notice, I've already spent, as of December, and that number's already higher than that, 8,900.
What line are you on, Meredith?
I'm
Uh,
sorry,
5,300.
Engineering
Oh,
services.
okay.
So I increased that because we've been using engineers. In some cases, I'm required to have a stamp or something on the things that go to Mass DEP.
What do you mean you have to have a stamp?
In other words, it has to be
It has to be
reviewed by a,
by a professional engineer, yes.
Oh, I see, okay.
How come none of these lines have percentages in them? Like heating is up from, oh no, it's the same, you're just carrying the same numbers over.
Yeah.
Not bad. Column,
yeah, you have to skip one.
yeah.
We move on to 5301, which we already reviewed, and that went down because we moved her up.
Can I ask a question back on vehicle maintenance?
That's way over.
Yeah, that's what I'm noticing, so is that?
So I'm not
Follow
gonna,
that.
so, we had repairs that should have been made in a previous year, and they weren't. And when our vehicles began to fail inspection, I worked with the director of DPW to force the repairs to get done, so our trucks would pass inspections. Unfortunately, the van that got destroyed
It's
had
not gonna
a
pass
brand-new
inspection.
transmission in it.
Of course it did. Oh, that stinks.
So that's why you see vehicle maintenance expense. I don't foresee that. We're staying on top of that. I'm working with Chris diligently to make sure our repairs get done in a timely fashion.
So your vehicles weren't going to pass inspection,
No,
and they couldn't get worked on?
with my guys, we're asking for it to be done, and it was getting pushed off, pushed off, pushed off. So we found another way to make sure that it was documented and gets done.
So are you getting another vehicle to replace the one that got?
We are, and you'll see it coming up in,
Okay, all righty,
That'll be capital.
here we go.
yes.
Okay.
What went up in the data processing
So
service? the
I'm
next
always
line?
just trying to stay ahead of that one. I know it doesn't look like it, and for some reason it isn't, but I know it is. If you look in the previous years, and they don't have that actual,
At 2,500.
Ten,
yeah,
640
in 19 it was
19.
10641. So I'm just trying to stay ahead of it. It's not anything I can control. It's part of what we send out for billing.
So is that part of the billing that's processed
Yes.
and sent
Yep.
to the townspeople?
Yep.
And so why is it going up? Just because you have to send more bills, or their fees are
The
going up?
the
or-
fees are going up. I mean, I wish that I went to Market Basket and things were getting cheaper, but they're not.
I know, seriously.
All right, the next line that shows an increase is network tech consultants.
I don't have any control over that.
Okay.
That's, comes from Town Hall.
Okay.
5326.
Internet connections, 5326 is once again from Town Hall. Advertising.
$5 and it's 10%.
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
So 5341. I'm increasing that. I don't know if you know what it costs to run an ad for a
Oh,
day.
It's expensive.
It's expensive. And at a drop of a hat, if I fail a test or something, I can be required to not only post it in the newspaper, but also send it across the TV.
If you fail a test.
If I fail a test, we have never.
Not
in
you
the 14
not him personally.
Not me
if
personally,
the
no.
test fails.
That's kind of
Some-
high pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's if you.
It's
have
just to
tested
cover
the
what if.
water.
I hope never to ever use
Yeah.
that line, but should it have to be done,
Yeah, I'd want to know if you
Yeah.
failed a test. So you're not advertising in the Super Bowl?
no.
Looks like the next increase is backflow testing.
Yeah, so our actuals were 11,280 in 19. We contract out for that service to be done for us because the requirements to stay licensed in it are so stringent, it is not worth our effort to keep an employee that way. We actually back charge the customer for those tests, so we actually turn a small profit, if any, so that it's just a wash,
So is
but I
that
have to pay them up
Mainly for
front.
commercial applications that
Yeah,
this is?
wherever, yes.
Okay, I got it.
What's the mileage line for? Doesn't look like it's been used lately.
I think I used it once when I went somewhere, and
Is
it's
it
not,
before
it's
you-
only when I go in
Classes,
my personal vehicle. If I go out of state to go to a class, I'm not gonna take a town vehicle.
The van.
Right, well, yeah, that went on a happy ride.
That mileage got put in there the year or a couple of years I didn't have a car. That's when we put mileage
You
in.
started
I used to have to
using
drive
your
my own car.
That's right.
Didn't have a car. Didn't have anything.
Guess that really doesn't need to be there. but,
Inspection.
yeah.
This one's-
All right, tank inspections. I'm going up on that because if you look in 19, I had a tank inspected. I'm required to do it every 3 to 5 years. So I had a tank inspected and it cost me $44.60. The next 2 tanks that I have to do are bigger and they're gonna cost more. And we're now a year later, so it, just by that, it's gonna cost me more.
All right, what's going on with the truck lease? Is that something?
So it's not
new?
it's not a lease. We're technically buying it, but that's where the loan amount's showing. We're gonna pay for it over 3 years.
We lease it and we own it at the end.
Okay, so,
Oh, okay.
John Duggan set that up years ago, made it easy, so we didn't have to come up with, say, $60,000 for a truck. We could come up with 20, 20, 20 over 3 years. And then we used to turn around and buy another truck and do the same thing. So there was always a truck, looked like on lease, but we were buying it and paying for it.
has that always been here? On
Yeah.
here?
Yes, it has.
Been like
Doesn't
that for
always have
years and
numbers
years.
on it,
John Duggan came up with that years ago, and it worked out good because we didn't have to borrow the money and pay it, that type of interest or anything.
Yeah.
It was,
So
It
they,
just looks like new lines on the budget. Am
Yeah,
I
it's-
missing it?
There are, but they're down the bottom. They're not, this one has been there for a long, long
a
time.
long time.
The truck lease?
Yes.
It's got zeros in here. Do you,
Yeah.
are you
Right,
gonna see
because
them
we
around?
haven't,
They haven't
we
bought one in
haven't
a
bought
long time.
one.
Oh, okay.
We were the van was not the vehicle I wanted to replace, but unfortunately, it's the vehicle getting replaced.
Our trucks are pretty old.
I was gonna
Our
say, if
trucks
you're
aren't-
replacing them every 3 years, then why are they not passing inspections and, did I misunderstand
No,
what you
we-
said?
No,
Our trucks are old. Our trucks are like 13, 14 years old, the bigger ones, and the small ones.
the small dump is.
I bought all those.
Yeah.
So what vehicles did you purchase with the loans that
Every
John
3
Duggan
years, yeah.
set up for you? Yeah.
We haven't purchased any.
It would have went back to the previous vans.
I think
Okay.
what they said was that they have the ability to purchase a vehicle
Okay.
over 3 years, but they haven't been doing it.
I'm sorry, not one.
Is that right?
Right, we're-
Okay, so that's
we're-
why it's showing zeros in prior years.
I got it.
Does it make sense to start thinking about getting some new vehicles?
Yes,
Pretty
and
good
that's why.
finances under control.
Well, they are, and that's, like I said, the van was not the one I wanted to replace.
Everyone else is getting.
We
new
have
vehicles.
insurance on it, don't we?
Yes, and we
So-
did get we got back, I think, $16,000 something dollars.
Say we, you mean the
The-
water department got
Yes,
it?
yep.
But that's not enough to buy a new one.
No, no.
Got it. Okay.
Police
Dawn,
details?
The police details.
All right, so with the new flushing program, we're in the middle of the street turning gates. We actually had incidents happen around us, and it was a good thing to have the officers there. I think somebody actually got arrested one night, and
We saw that on Facebook too.
It's a wealth of
Social media.
information. I gotta look Facebook. I don't know what's going on in town.
so that's why you see that increasing.
Okay. And then
And then after that, we're into the loans, which they're already running.
so you're paying off more principal and less interest.
Yep.
Are you choosing to increase the principal amount, or is that the required payment?
These are numbers that are generated by town hall, so
Okay,
So
okay.
as you pay off a loan, what you're paying on principal goes up and your interest
Interest
payment
goes
goes down.
If
right,
that's-
the
if
interest
that's
should be dropping
amortization,
off.
Depending on how it's amortized.
Right.
There's other ways you can do it.
Yeah, it doesn't always work that way. Couldn't be.
A couple of our line removal plan, I think this is, getting you the 1 or 2 years left on that, I think.
Oh, wow.
Right down there. But the payment's still pretty hefty right now, as long as you're making, it's like 156,000 in principal. But we're getting to the end of that.
Yeah.
That'll be a relief.
Be buying trucks.
Well,
Yeah.
Never ends.
We're building more wells, so
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
they'll be replaced
yeah,
with
yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you have a site have you got a site approved for a new well? Because I know
Yeah,
that's,
yeah, we're replacing a well, and we're looking for a spot for another one.
okay, you're still in the searching.
That's gotta go
Yeah.
through
well,
DEP.
it has to go through DEP.
Right,
There
yeah.
are 2 sites that we've targeted. But it's a matter of, our water renewal permit was up, so to ask for more water while they're still trying to decrease our current water withdrawal permit doesn't look good, so our permit is in now to be signed, and hopefully we get that, and then we can progress forward with picking a spot and moving forward in that. There are other
But the
factors
spot
that
has to be
fell in.
approved by DEP.
Right.
We just can't pick one.
Right.
We have a number of them.
Yeah, because I remember there being discussion of you testing
cost
different
for all that,
areas.
yeah.
Yeah, with the engineering.
But then the DEP has to look at it, and they have to pick the best one they think.
Well,
Make
They've gotten
recommendations.
much more strict as far as all the water through the state, how much you can take out and where you take. It used to be by the big river basin, now it's by.
There are
it could be
sub-basins.
sub-
This town has, I
eight
think, like 5
small
or 6
sub-acre
sub-basins in it.
Basins, it's very small, and if you're near a border, we might have water, but
They'd have a
Brockton
discussion
may
with the
have.
next town, yeah.
So there's a lot to go through to get that approved now, a lot more than it used to be.
Yeah, very
Interesting.
But the bottom line looks great.
There
does.
seems,
It really does.
it does, there seems
For
to be a
people who
lot of
can't see.
concern about capacity and new wells and things like that we heard prior years. Are you feeling better about that? Are you still?
So you approved and we had rehabilitated our Station 1, which part of my yellow water problem was qualifying that and then bringing it online slowly. It sat stagnant for many years. So that's part of what created that problem also, but it's been up and running. And so we have redundancies built in. However, that last windstorm took me all the way down to just one station running again and backfeeding the town once again to set up the yellow water issue again. But
And that was just because you didn't have power, it wasn't any failure in your,
Wasn't a pump failure or any of
Infrastructure or
that
anything.
stuff.
well, we had a lot of failures that happened as a result, because literally somebody took the lights. I happen to live up on Spring Street, and that section seems to go out each and every storm. And yeah, went out for 7 hours, but as it went out, the lights blinked about 7 times before it finally failed. Well, my electronics can't withstand that kind of on and off.
Can you put in protectors for
And
them?
that's what I'm currently doing within what little budget I have left, and then I have to look to see when the capital things have to be in, but I have about 15 spots that I have to put $700 protectors in, so you may see something come through on that.
Okay. I think it bears repeating. I mean, your budget's only up 1.25%.
Right.
That's really
Well,
good.
There's a lot of.
Trying to
interest-
hold it.
Some interest issues, items that went down.
Right.
So
Yeah, but
that-
considering the past
Still,
few
that's-
years.
that's a
I'm
good-
Yeah, I think
happy
you
with
did a
that.
good job, yeah.
Better
Yeah,
than
yeah,
most.
that's good.
Right.
Does anyone have any other questions for the water department? Or anybody associated with it?
thank you.
Good
Thank
job.
you
Thank
very
you guys
much.
very much.
Thank you, guys.
Good job.
Have a good night.
You too.
Missed you last night.
Coming in,
Had something else?
license renewal.
have to take this home and play with it.
Yeah, well, I think part of the challenge is that every time somebody moves it.
Right.
Right.
I just did my notes. I just created a document with my own notes.
So it's not on the shared one?
So I didn't have to take notes, because Meredith was doing a great job. And
I gave up.
you know what, it's amazing is that when somebody changes lines, like the
Yeah,
color from
yeah.
line to line, it's like. I
You're gonna
just
see
have-
another Word document out there.
I just have to sit here.
Look, I know I'm the blue one. No, I'm the blue one.
No, I don't.
How are you doing?
Hi, John, how are you?
Very good, I'm doing well, thank you.
What are you talking
Board of Health.
about?
Yeah, let's jump right to it. Board of Health.
Let's get it
budget.
over with.
5110.
5110.
You make it sound like it's something to avoid.
Find it
No,
in here.
it's a very, actually,
Simple?
most of the increases are contractual. I don't know if you've got the cover sheet that I've got.
Nope. What's
It
it?
is,
A cover sheet?
it's just a line item 5110.
Oh, wait a minute, that's gonna be on the
Oh.
personnel sheets, isn't it?
5110,
5110?
0%.
Even this is
Yep.
freaky.
So, you're up $7,000.
So up 7,000 and about 5,000 is for our health agent, which contractual, like I said. And then clerical is up a couple of grand there.
So I'm sorry, you
Contractual.
said for
And
the,
the actual increase is, it's $1,000 more for our nursing services. And right now, we pay our nurse.
John, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt. I'm still
it's all right.
back up at the top.
Okay,
And
the
is
line
everybody
items that we
else
have
there?
increases on are 5112.
And is everybody on that budget? Okay.
Yeah.
You are now, okay.
So 5112 is up, and that's contractual clerical salaries.
Okay.
And then 5119 is health agent, and that's contractual again. And then 5140 is longevity, and that's contractual. So the only one not contractual is 5312, which is nursing services.
What about the 5119? That's up 7%?
51 That's contractual.
That's contractual,
Yeah.
7%?
Yep,
Is that
Last
Robert
year.
Casper?
yes it is. Sorry.
He was approved for a raise of 7%?
From last year, we were in front of you, and we went for the raise.
Then why is it showing as it increased this year and not last year?
Well, he got a raise last year and this year, so this is the second leg of his raise.
So he got
I'm not remembering
over
any of this.
2 years,
Yeah, I don't remember
14%?
either.
Am I confused?
Well, it brought him up to what the surrounding health agents are receiving.
Oh,
Which is what?
It's in the 70s, I don't have that information in front of me.
Okay.
He's actually underpaid, but this is what, we went over the numbers last year. So this year it brings him up to 74,944. And I think this brings him up to comparable to the surrounding communities.
Did he have an evaluation and goals set and and a sort of a performance review?
He did last year when we actually agreed to this. I came in front of the board, your board last year, and we
you
went
guys
over this in
remember this?
detail.
All I remember talking about with John was the
Nursing.
stipend.
Yeah, I'm not remembering
That was
any of
the
this.
big
I
issue last year,
apologize.
The stipend.
You don't remember 14%.
Yeah, I don't remember 7%.
Well, it's like,
I
yeah,
have
so
my
it's like
notes in the
11%,
office.
right?
Check if you
12%.
want.
Yeah.
But, well,
So
can
we
you,
talked about
Yeah, I
that
can-
remind
he was
us?
underpaid, and you needed to bring him up.
Correct. I remember the number 10,000 that we discussed, and it was 5 last year and 5 this year.
Well, it was 64, and then last year we approved 69.
To 69. And then this year it's from 69 to 74, which is the raise.
But he's already negotiated that, so it's not like
Last
he
year?
cannot do it.
So that's another
All right.
5,000.
Right.
almost.
Yeah, so just, it was an 8% last year, so that's what you probably did, you did it over 2 years.
Okay.
And then the nursing services, you were.
Yeah, the nursing services is up $1,000, and comes up to the hourly rate.
What's the
she
hourly
makes
rate on
$30
that?
an hour.
So is it
And
an
the-
increase in the rate, or she?
It's an
working
increase in the
hours?
rate. And the surrounding towns are averaging about $36 an hour. So it's going up to,
Registered nurses.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of money.
it's going up to 33, this is what we're putting it in. So from 30 to 33, the surrounding towns are about $36 an hour.
Oh, okay, so that makes sense, 10%, okay. That's not contractual, though, right?
No. Nope,
Is that the lady who goes to the senior center?
yes it is.
How's
April.
that going?
Very well,
She's busy.
yeah, she's very well. We haven't heard nothing but compliments of her.
I think they keep her busy, over there, right?
Yeah. Well, she's from the community as well, so she can relate to them. She's from West Bridgewater. Kind of helpful, I think.
All right, does anyone have any other questions on this budget?
No?
All right, not hearing any, let's go on to budget 1950, wastewater treatment.
Don't ruin it.
Okay, 1950, so,
All right, everybody there?
Equipment, yeah.
Yep.
So it's gone up $500 in equipment and consultant?
right. What's happening is that the system's getting older, and our review engineer for the Board of Health is also the man that watches over our system. So we went in for an increase for him for a monthly, I forget what the stipend is off the top of my head, for a monthly stipend. But also, most importantly, is that we use he's a professional engineer. So when we need repairs to the system, instead of us going outside and hiring an engineer to oversee the process, we use him in-house. It's Art Cabral. I mean, he's been with us for years. And some of the things that we need to do this year, we're gonna be, the systems are getting old, and then the other system that we have at the Roselle, we're gonna need new floats, and we bought new pumps last year. So it's just the systems are over 10 years old. So that's where the additional materials are going for.
The 2,300.
Yeah, and we need to camera the line there's a gravity line that flows from the it pumps it up from the high school and it brings it under the road to the back of the police station. And we've got some water infiltration from from groundwater, so we need to camera that. And it's just things like that, it's just age. But other than that, we're getting a good bang for our buck with that system. But it's just encouraging to know that we have a professional engineer reviewing the system, so if something does go wrong, we don't need to, call outside contractor and spend more money.
Sorry, did you say camera the lines?
Yeah, to see
Yeah.
how the inside of the pipes look.
Never
Yeah.
had that done?
Never, not to my knowledge.
It's like a colonoscopy.
I was gonna say,
That's what
that's what it
it
sounds
entered my
like.
head, but it wasn't gonna come out.
All right, I'm a plumber, I can talk like
Endoscopy,
that.
yeah.
That's what I thought, I just wanted to be clear when I took my notes, thank you.
But they don't have to
Real
drink
camera.
all that stuff first.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I know. know, the pipes could be full. Like colonoscopy.
So,
All right, does anyone have any other
that's pretty
questions?
much it.
Good, thank you. Let's move past this as quickly as possible. Well, hearing
else,
no other
guys?
questions.
No,
No,
thank
we're
you.
good, John, thank you.
very much.
Great, thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
John.
Take care, good night.
Good night.
Oh, God.
Well, that was great, guys. How are you, Ellen?
I'm fine. Are you ready for me now, or?
Yep.
You're gonna
Yeah,
ready-
we
oh,
are.
we're moving
Ahead of
along?
schedule, look at that.
Oh, that's always
We
a
are looking at
bonus.
budget 6,100.
Okay, as usual, I have a little handy dandy fact sheet for you.
Good for you.
I always like to do that. Want to have those around, please? Move.
I love numbers.
Yeah, that's what you said last year, so I said, let's just keep it coming.
Yeah.
Well, I love reading about the library on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Well, you probably, if you saw Facebook this week,
Was that the lights?
yes, the big financial story at the library is that we're in very good shape in terms of passport revenue.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard.
Now, the thing is, as fabulous as passport revenue is, I am very carefully leaning towards using it for things like capital. So this is the first year, I've been here 4.5 years.
Oh, wow, has it been?
I know, I'm gonna,
That did
it's,
go by
one of the things on
fast.
my budget here is longevity has gone up. That's because I'm, next November, or December, I'll be getting my first longevity paycheck, which just seems so crazy. But anyway, every year I've had to ask for a capital line for, I think the first year was for the network, which was badly needed. Then we did a paint job, we had the sidewalks. This year, we're gonna do a lot of renovation into the building, and I won't need to ask you for anything. So I'm very proud of that.
I'm so glad this is on camera.
Yes.
I'm teasing, I'm
that's great.
teasing.
It's,
Innovative.
well, and I have to credit Jerry Lawrence for really pushing me, not nagging, but like always bringing passports up as something we should consider. Initially, I was like a little resisting because I wasn't sure how much work it was going to add to our staffing. But then to credit my old, Jed Phillips, our former, I should say, not old, he's far from old, our former assistant director, who is now the director in Bridgewater.
Yeah, that's a big move.
He really helped me get the biggest bugaboo about passports from other library, anecdotally, the meetings I go to, is scheduling. And Jed set up this online scheduling service for us, which just made it so easy.
So people have to schedule an
Yes,
appointment?
they love that, actually.
I would
They
love
love
that.
the fact that there is a schedule, and they have my undivided attention for half an hour, as opposed to standing in line waiting at the post office and hoping that you get in before they
Online,
close.
is it, or you come in and make an appointment?
You make the appointment online, and then you come in for your half-hour appointment to the library.
Is that the young man you brought last year?
Yes.
He's gone already?
He's gone already, he was here for a year and a half.
Stolen.
A year and a half.
Well, yeah, he's the director in Bridgewater.
Oh, that's good.
He's, he
What was his I don't want to belabor this, but what was his background before he came here?
He was in Easton, and we've stolen somebody else from Easton now, so.
Was he the director in Easton?
No,
or the
no,
assistant?
he wasn't even the assistant, see,
Wow.
he was the technology librarian in Easton.
Wow.
So we took him on as assistant director, he came to all of these meetings, he learned how to be a director, sort of
Yeah.
under me, and now he's in Bridgewater. I couldn't be more thrilled for him, but of course
Yeah, right.
it meant a lot more work for me ultimately, but he set a lot of things up for me.
That's great.
So he has a long and solid legacy with us. We have a new assistant director, her name is Laura Williams, she's coming on board on March 2nd. And she brings slightly different skills. She's, I would say she's maybe a little bit, more, she's a great manager already. She also came from Easton, so the director in Easton is not even gonna speak to me at these meetings.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Put a box on
I'm
your
so,
house.
I just feel like, they applied and they're great, so. She brings organizational skills, she's really used to dealing with staffing. She also is good at technology, not quite to the level that Jed was, but she's very comfortable with technology, and she also, she told us at the interview that she wants to start a job center on Saturdays. She's very used to like helping people with their resumes and learning how to do some of these job seeking.
LinkedIn and all that,
LinkedIn
yeah.
and Indeed and Monster.com, you know, all those kind of things. And she's had some experience doing that, so I was like, yes.
On Saturday, she's gonna do that?
She's, not every Saturday, but it'll be probably on an appointment basis. It's all about the appointments. That's the way we manage the influx of service offerings. And, you know, as far as the direction that we're going, I've listened hard, and we've tried a lot of different things in West Bridgewater. And it does seem to me that this community really is interested in services. So we offer, for free, we offer exam proctoring. Now, if you want to get your exam proctored at Massasoit, it costs $60 for a 3-hour exam. But we do it for free, and I set them up, and that, you know, I get the paperwork online from the testing. I just did one like a week and a half ago through Johns Hopkins University. Somebody in a master's program, she needed to be proctored, and we set it up on Saturday. I put her in my office with a computer that was online, not because they said like we don't want her to be on a Wi-Fi. We want her to be on a, you know, on a landline, you know, an inline.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was no phone. I was, you know, busy doing other things anyway, checking in on her regularly, making sure she wasn't, you know, she wasn't cheating. And then, you know, I helped her submit, and, you know, it was free. So those are the kinds of services that we're trying to offer with passports and proctoring. As I said, Laura wants to do more with, you know, job hunting and that sort of thing.
So you have 130 kids in the library at one
Yes,
time?
we count, and I think that's a low count. We're doing hashtags. And it varies, but that's the average.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, it's a lot, and that means I have to get most of my concentrated work done in the mornings. And then I'm out on the floor in the afternoons, you know, just making sure everybody doesn't kill each other.
I can vouch that that's true because I've decided I will not return my library books at that time anymore.
Yeah, it can be hectic.
It's
It can
very
be
busy.
hectic. And obviously, most of the kids are great. We've had some issues with certain kids, but I do have to say, you know, walking out with them to the parking lot and talking to their parent as they're getting picked up is very effective. And I also have huge support from Mr. McLaughlin at Howard School and Mr. Bodwell at the high school. They both take it extremely seriously if there's ever an issue at the library, and come down pretty hard, and you know, we've had to manage that. And what we say is if there's no chair for you, we don't have room for you. You can't be wandering. You have to find a seat, sit down, and, you know, and that's that. So anyway, it's a challenge, but I think it's been a challenge since before I got here, so
Yep.
it's been something that everyone who has been in this position has had to deal with. And it's just a proximity issue, you know, it really is. Most of the kids are great, honestly.
They're kids.
There are gonna be some kids who have a problem. So anyway, down to the financials. If you look at my budget, it's pretty much of a stasis budget, to be honest with you. The big increase in clerical salaries is only because I want to increase Beth Awald, who's at 30 hours currently, up to 35. She wants to work full-time. She's a terrific employee, and she's very adaptive. She can do a lot of different kinds of things. And she helped me put that package together in terms of the statistics. The assistant director is I just kept her at Jed's salary for this coming year. And as I said before, I'm finally eligible for longevity, which is the explanation for that. We've already experienced a decrease because of the work I've been doing with lighting. We've already experienced a significant savings in our energy for electricity. So I'm very excited about that. I have to give Michael White, the building inspector, just huge credit for doing that town-wide energy audit. Every single building in town got an incredibly thorough audit. And then he convened a meeting about 2 weeks ago downstairs for all of us department heads, and they kind of talked through what the things were. And I was glad to see that a lot of what they were recommending for my building, we'd already started doing the LEDs.
If you're saving on it,
Right,
why
that was
is
my
the
next
budget
question.
going up?
The budget has to go up, so this is my philosophy. I don't think that we can, we can't count on passports for everything, first of all. I think you have to increase electricity just because the rates, the electrical rates have fluctuated from month to month. It's been hard to tell what it's gonna be. So it does have to go up. It's like a 1% increase, so I don't feel comfortable totally flatlining that. And I just thought $250 was a safe, and again, a lot of this is like kind of play it by ear. One of the things that I really am nervous about is using passport money for our operating budget. I don't think that's safe to do, because again, it's income, but it's not
Guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. It's, it's a great source.
And then who walks through the door?
That's the thing, and, will it, if, right now, we seem to be a popular place to get their passports, but as more libraries jump on board, what will that affect? How will that affect us?
Sure, but the questions aren't emanating from, why aren't you using your revolving funds for these items? It's just, what's the source of the increase? That's
The
really-
source of the increase is the lack of clarity as to what the bill will be.
There's other minor increases, property maintenance, technology,
Right. Technology is 300.
office supplies, maybe you could, they're minuscule, but
Yeah, technology, a lot of that is our Comcast bill for our Wi-Fi service. We're reaching, kind of we made a major jump when we got that improved 4 years ago. But that would be the Wi-Fi, and if we can increase the Wi-Fi, bandwidth a little bit, that would be really helpful. Every kid who comes in, 130 kids, they've all got a cell phone that's on our Wi-Fi, it's sort of like, whether they're doing something productive or not, everybody needs the Wi-Fi.
Is this technology separate than the technology lines that we're seeing in other departments that Town Hall supports?
Oh, yes, yeah, we don't get,
This is separate.
yeah, it is completely separate.
That's what I thought,
It's
but I wanted to
interesting.
clarify.
Absolutely, we have our own Comcast bill. How we get support from the town is pretty much in terms of brain power support. Like Ed Sorrow has just been great. He helps me if I have any networking issues. We call in Hub if we do have something really major, but it's been very steady. And of course, now that the telephones are completely worked into the Wi-Fi the staff Wi-Fi. So we have two lines. We have the public access line, which is what the Wi-Fi is on, but also the inline computers. And then we have the staff line, which is completely separate network.
Right.
The support we get from Ed is pretty much on the staff side because the phones get worked in there, and he's the man in charge of phones.
So what's the books and periodicals?
So that's the other thing that we need to be careful. The increase of materials, and it's not all books, a lot of it is electronic, of course, and as you can see from my little fun sheet, the use of electronic resources is just continuing to blossom. We have to keep that up in order to
Centered.
stay certified. The worst thing you can do is be decertified by the state. In fact, one of the issues that Bridgewater, Jed is still dealing with in Bridgewater, years after decertification and getting it back, he tells me, because, we talk a lot, he says he's still trying to bring that library back up to where it had been before they were decertified. So, it's just one of those things that you just never want to go there, and the state does require a certain percentage of your budget to be dedicated to materials, and it has to show some reasonable increase. if your budget doesn't show like a 2.5% increase over the course of like, it's an average of 3 years that you submit to the state in July, then you run the risk.
Now, I know many years ago, before it was you, we were always told it had to be in this books and periodicals line, that there had to be a 17 or 19%.
Right.
So if you're saying there only needs to be 2.5% increase, can you talk a little bit more about it? I'm not sure I'm understanding what the
Well,
increases are.
The materials, I'm leaving it open as far as whether I'm going to spend it on print or non-print. I don't think that at this point I want to, lock myself in. We did a massive weeding of the collection that hadn't been done. That's actually been a 4-year process, and now we are building it back up again. We weeded all of our reference materials. We need to spend more on reference because I just think it's important to have that. You can't always have your phone is not always the most reliable source of
Isn't that
information.
guaranteed obsolescence, though, if you're buying? I mean,
Well,
Is it electronic or print?
some of it is electronic, some of it is print. I think there has to be some balance because you can't,
Not everyone.
you don't always, not everybody has, especially, I feel that the medical area has to be kept right up. And it has to be print and, we have access to some electronic resources for medical. But a lot of elderly people feel much more comfortable with a print encyclopedia, and they're looking up, and they want the privacy of being able to look for their condition, in a book at a table. So I've spent some money this year on that. I would like to spend more on medical reference. Hey, David. So, yeah, it's I'm trying hard to improve the print collection because it was very old, very crusty. We've cleaned all that crust away and now we're building it back up again. It's never going to be as many as we had before because, I just think a streamlined collection is a collection that actually circulates. And that's kind of like counterintuitive, but actually a smaller collection has a higher likelihood of circulating than an overstuffed collection where you can barely pull the book off the shelf. So it's a mixture. It's a mixture of electronics and print. And the other thing you have to remember with this too is, I haven't mentioned it too much before, but both Mr. McLaughlin and Mr. Bodwell have reached out to me to have us provide more sort of literacy services and book talking for the different grades. Mr. McLaughlin came to me last summer and he said, I really want you to come. Yeah, I know you do a great book talk. We want you to do 4th, 5th, and 6th grades. So Nanette and I book talked the entire 4th grade, the entire 6th grade, and most of the 5th grade. And now I haven't even, because I've just been so busy with Jed being gone, I haven't had a chance to pull together a book talk for the middle school, but I will be doing that.
What does that mean?
That means we pull together, we curate a collection of pretty new stuff. Then we have to read it ourselves. That takes some time. And then with the middle school, I usually go over and we have a big assembly. That's what we did last year. I have a 7th grade assembly in the school auditorium. And I talk about, if you're interested in fantasy, these are the new fantasy books. If you're interested in historical fiction, this is the stuff. That takes, and then when you do that and everybody wants to borrow the same book, that catches you off. Now, there is no school librarian in the elementary school, or there's some, borrowing going on, but it's very informal, from what I gather. So I feel like we're really having to step into something of a vacuum there. And I need to buy some multiple copies, because that's not fair to the kids who get all excited. One of my biggest goals in West Bridgewater is I don't feel that kids are reading for pleasure as much as they could. If they just found the right book, it's all about finding the right book. But kids have different, interests. You can't, required reading, it doesn't always spark their interest. So that's why I book talk to as many grades as I can, because they have as much of a variety of interests as adults do. So that's my defense of that materials budget. Not only we have reference needs, and we have school needs. We just have to build our collection back up. And I'm definitely increasing our electronic resources, which does come out of that.
It looks like about the same increase as last year.
Yeah.
Looks like about the same.
And that's actually not enough, as you can see. I'm not sure, you may not have this on the bottom of your page, but in order to reach 16%, which is the 19 is the required amount that you're supposed to have in your budget for materials if you're a town our size. But because we are open so many hours, that creates flexibility on the part of the state. And I have to submit, every year, I submit the paperwork for flexibility on that because, you know, people do more than just check out a book when they come to the library. There are a lot of, as I say, we're doing a lot of services. We're providing a safe place for kids to be after school. We provide programming, et cetera, et cetera. And so I do ask for flexibility, so we are allowed to come down to 16%. And some of that comes from the operating budget, some of it comes from the Friends of the Library. Museum passes goes into that number, I'm happy to say. And some of it comes from the state aid that we get. So between those three sources, the operating budget of the library, state aid, and the Friends of the Library, I reached the 16%. Any other questions?
All right, does anyone have other questions on this budget?
No? I do have one other item that I'd like to raise with you, which is,
Oh, yeah.
The revolving account?
yes. That comes back to the fact that up until now, having a cap of $12,000 to spend was never an issue, but now that we're bringing in more funding, and I'd like to spend that on building enhancements, we'd like to raise that to 30 for this year. Again, it's like, I'm not sure how much we can count on that from year to year, but it would be very helpful. What's great about the lighting project is that I can do it incrementally. You know, like, we just did the children's room, okay? Then you saw on Facebook, we just did the circulation desk area. You know, so slowly but surely, I'm working my way through the building as the money comes in. But if we can raise it to 30, then I'll be able to do that. I should be able to do the improvement of the bathroom, that bathroom project, which we're trying to get done by Southeast Regional. They've come in and checked it all out, and they're very eager to do it because it has a lot of aspects to it. It's carpentry, it's flooring, it's a little bit of plumbing, you know, so they're kind of excited about doing it, but it's a long, slow, you know, you gotta get on their list, and they have to wait, so, but anyway.
So remind me this revolving account, how you ask the town to put the money in, or you get that money?
No,
from-
that comes from fees and fines. Do you have a copy of the actual letter, maybe?
There's a cap on it now.
And so we do, but we need permission from you and the permission from the selectmen to raise the cap.
You raise the cap.
The
but
cap,
then
what we
you-
can spend.
Put more in.
Oh, I see.
So we can, it's not as much, I had thought it was how much we could put in, but it's actually how much can we spend out of it.
So if I may, I'll just explain it. You may recall up to 2 years ago, we always used to have individual articles, and it would allow for a revolving account for multiple departments, council on aging, school department, library, just to name a couple of them. And specific to the library is that through fees and fines, they would bring in and be willing to spend up to about $12,000 per year. This is not taxpayer money, it has no effect on the tax roll. This is money on the side that she can use to augment her budget.
Okay.
State law is that at town meeting, at least at that point, is that you would put a cap as to how much they could spend, just so that way you had some semblance of control. Now with passports, her revenue stream has vastly increased.
Increase, yeah.
So we can do two options. We can either go to town meeting and we can increase the cap, or the selectmen and the finance committee can increase the cap. When town meeting approves it, it will be in perpetuity until it's changed again. She's not sure, Ellen's not sure, maybe next year passports are not a big hit anymore.
That's right.
So there's no sense of going to town meeting to increase it. So for this current year, she's asking that the selectmen and the finance committee approve it. The selectmen approved it last night. That way, as money comes in, she can use it for the purposes that she discussed earlier. But next year, it's gonna be back to 12,000 here.
Okay.
And so we had discussed it if a couple of years, 2 or 3 years in a row, it looks like this is gonna be a consistent revenue stream, then we'll do it at town meeting. And that way we don't have to do it on an annual basis.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess you have to vote on that.
So we need a motion to,
So how much are you planning to spend just for the bathroom? That's what Southeastern Regional is for?
They haven't even given me a bid yet, but I have some private bids that look like it's between 6 and 10, depending on, again, how much we can afford to get done at one time.
So what are you gonna
So what
spend the
else is
30
there?
on?
Yeah.
Lighting and weathroofing.
I thought you just did the lighting.
No, we're about, I would say we're about
In the
maybe
process.
a fifth of the way through
Okay.
the lighting.
So you wanna do more lighting?
We wanna
You
continue
do
on the lighting
bathroom, and then what?
and
I'm sorry.
weatherproofing.
Weatherproofing?
The doors, especially the side door, is just a sieve in the winter. It's terrible. But I've talked to the door guy, and he said, what it's not the doors, it's actually the frame. And you need, it's askew. You know, it's 30 years old, the building is 30 years old. By the way, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary in June. You're all invited, we'll send you an invitation. Bring a little soiree.
The library is 30 years old.
I know, the building is 30 years old. The library's been around a lot longer than that, but anyway, so the building itself is 30 years. I think it's in great shape myself, but these are the things we can fix. So he said, wait till there's warm weather, and he'll come and he'll have to like actually rejigger the frame. It's an aluminum frame, so. But that, he says, that is gonna make an enormous difference on your loss of heat. So I'm excited about that, but I can't do anything about it yet because of the weather.
otherwise you gotta come in under a capital budget approval or something like that.
Right, I'm hoping to avoid that.
So you're taking in enough money to pay for those things through your fees,
Little by
your
little.
fines, and your
Yeah.
Right,
passports?
exactly.
That's good.
As you can see from my little info sheet, we've already taken in
$12,000.
$12,000 in passports alone. And there had been money in there to begin with.
Oh.
You know, there was money there already
I know that from other sources.
from other sources, from the fees and fines, so.
Right, does anyone want to make a motion about raising the cap
Two,
30,000.
to 30,000?
I'll make the motion.
Why?
For
Just for
FY
FY.
'20 only.
Okay,
I'll make
I'll
that
second
motion.
it.
Someone moved it already, right?
I
Oh,
moved
I'm
it.
sorry.
Moved
Moved, seconded. All those in favor?
Attention.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
Can I just clarify one thing on the
Yes.
passport? So they charge a fee, the government charges a fee.
Right.
And you charge $35 on top of that.
That's required by the State Department, that any processing, like the
Post office,
the
anyway.
post
You
office,
do
they
it
all get
yourself.
$35.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
That's money I spent this year.
and so it does, I mean, a
it
good,
was a
and a
great
good week.
experience.
I did five last night.
Oh, wow.
So you can do renewals and new ones, or just renewals?
Most renewals, unless they're way out of date, people can do those on their own.
Oh, I see, so it's just new ones.
Yeah.
And
It's
they're
new
running
ones and
Yeah.
old ones.
way behind if you need a renewal. I'm at 8 weeks, I call them, and
Oh,
say,
really?
"We're
Yeah.
really behind."
And then children are also have to be handled by an acceptance agency because their pictures change so much.
So give yourself a lot of,
Give yourself a long lead time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Good seeing you.
Okay.
all right,
All right, let's go back to approve the meeting minutes of May 1st.
Those are the ones that were attached in today's email, right?
excuse me.
I move to accept.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And let's accept the meeting minutes of August 8th and February 6th for review.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from August 8th and February something for review.
February 6th.
February 6th.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, we're going to talk about Capital Budget Committee. What was the date for that? I know.
March 11th.
March 11th.
So we normally meet somewhere around 3 to 4 in the afternoon. The reason we don't have an exact time is because the requests are all due back the previous Friday, March 6th. And obviously, it depends on how many presentations we have.
Oh, the capital budget?
Capital
Yeah.
budget.
I'm sorry, so it's March 11th, and what was that?
On March 11th, it's usually sometime between 3 and 4. So if we only have 1 or 2, you know,
We'll
it's
do
gonna
it
make a
later in the
difference
day.
between if we have 6 or 7. So, yeah, it'll be March 11th.
Okay, and typically in the past, I know I typically go, did you go? Were
I
you-
typically go, but I will not be attending this year.
And Mo, you typically
Mo
go.
has typically gone, yes, yes.
And I know I
Should be
spoke with
available.
Jan about being, participating with the capital
right, right.
budget.
Yeah, I arranged that with work, so I can
Great.
do that.
Terrific, good for you.
All
We'll
right.
enjoy it. Very
Do we
interesting.
have to make a motion
So I would make a motion to appoint the three of you to the finance, to the capital budget committee.
to the capital budget?
I'll make a motion to appoint Meredith, Mo, and Jan to the capital budget committee.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. All right, and David, let's go on to your,
Yeah, so these are smaller budgets, so I'm gonna kind of batch them, and then if you have questions, just let me know. The town accounting budget is up just about 2%. The only changes in it is contractual on line 1 and 2, and longevity. Town council, 1510, is level funded at $87,000, no changes.
How much does that run, David? I don't have it in front of me, but how much are we spending on an annual?
It's budgeted for 85.
So I think last year we spent about 63.
Actual from fiscal year 19 was 60.
Not bad, 3,000 off my memory.
Really, it was
Come on,
60,800.
Trying
see?
to ask some Jen Rose questions.
But, so, you know, in years past, before I got here, we used to spend over $100,000 a year.
every year.
So sometimes it's variable, obviously it's, unfortunately, one case can spend.
Can
your
blow you
entire
out of the
budget,
water, yeah.
And 5 cases can spend nothing. And it's not just for legal cases, because just because we have legal expenses doesn't mean that we have court claims.
Right.
We have personnel issues, this year we have collective bargaining agreements that we're negotiating. We always have, like I said, personnel issues. There are always other legal issues that come up. Obviously, they help us prepare for all of our special and annual town meetings. And depending on how complicated those motions are, as to how involved they are.
Yeah.
Motions that we do every single year, you know, minimal oversight. Some new ones, ones that we haven't done before, much more oversight. So, but, you know, around 60 to 70,000 is probably what we've been spending since I've been here.
Not bad.
Cable TV committee, that is being level funded, $1,100. Planning board, $1,750. It says it's up 5.27%. It's a small budget, so only hundreds of dollars make a big difference on a percentage basis.
Any idea what the $500 increase in travel is on the planning board?
Yep, so what I was gonna go over is that the clerical is showing a 3% increase, it should be a 2% increase. I'll make that adjustment as we go through the adjustments with the board of selectmen.
Okay.
The planning board apparently is looking to have an additional $500 stipend for travel, because they go out and they look at sites and all that, they do get a travel stipend as 5 members, so at $1,500, they get $300 a year. They're obviously looking for it to go to $400 a year. So again, we'll review it as we go through the budget. The 1760 Board of Appeals, the only change is in reference to clerical, it's up 1.67%. Again, the secretary's getting a 2% raise, there's no other changes. Rent control, the secretary is gonna get a 2% increase, the overall budget is up 1.8% or 1.83. The ADA committee, level funded at $500. Budget 1945, municipal building needs committee, level funded at $1,486. In the last budget, veterans budget, again, basically the only change is contractual. Up 2%, but that means that the overall budget only goes up 0.5%.
And then the dues and meeting fund is
Yeah,
decreased.
we've got 100.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I reached out to the veterans agent yesterday. Unfortunately, I'm meetings all day, so I couldn't speak to him. So I'm here to find out, off the top of my head, I think they went from 600 to 500. And so I'm not exactly sure why, then maybe there's one less meeting he has to worry about going to, but again, minimal difference.
Didn't
Right,
we have
right,
a
right.
big increase on this budget a couple of years ago? We had several vets move into town.
So we did, so we used to fund the veterans budget cash incentive at around $20,000. We had a handful of veterans move into town, so we increased it to $45,000. you will see that we have not been spending that amount.
Mhm.
So we've reduced it back down to, I believe it's 25,000. And that was enough last year, and I told it it should be enough this year.
Yeah, look at that budget. Look at it.
Bless you.
Fiscal year 19, it went from 51 to 65. That was a big, and that was,
Again,
right, because of that.
Driven by
variable,
demographic,
Right.
somebody moves into town, somebody moves out of town. You know, obviously, it's impossible to budget for that. So you just look at where you are currently at your application process and hope that's not, hope that's enough. And if it's not, then the following year you have to fund it at a higher level. One thing to keep in mind, the state reimburses us at 75% of those dollars. So if we spend $100,000 out of it, $75,000 will come back the following year, but that is a general fund receipt, it does not reimburse the veterans budget.
So what,
Versus the town.
this is just they apply for assistance if they need it for whatever?
That whatever a veteran would qualify for, yes.
All right, anyone have questions on David's budgets? All right, we have one other item left on our agenda, and it's to talk about the Finance Committee bylaw.
Yes, right. We, last year I met with the committee, select the finance committee, select, whatever they are, select. And we're at 9, and we wanted to go to 7, and they wanted us to give it another effort to retain, to try to attract new members, and we did talk it up, and people's time is crunched, so they're not as generous with
Posted
it.
it on Facebook a couple of times, I saw.
Yeah.
So we did our part of the bargain. We did the best we could, and now we're going to go back and say, it just can't, I just don't feel that it should continue like this. There's so much pressure on the current members to be there all the time. In the middle of budget season, if we don't have a quorum, it just messes everything up.
Right.
And we're such a small town, somebody's related to somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, recuse.
Right, there's a lot of refusals.
So our thought process is to
Cut it down
Cut it
from
down.
9 to 7. But we have to talk about how and if we want to change the process at all. Do we want to keep it with the committee to appoint the Finance Committee? Do we want to change the whole bylaw? Do we want to just change the number of spots down to 7 so that it's easier to meet quorum? At the moment, the selectmen are ex officio members.
Are they ex officio, is it?
They are.
Okay.
What's that mean?
So is it, I'm sorry.
Which
No,
means,
go ahead.
So an ex officio member just means that you have that spot as a result of already holding a selectman seat. Your positions are appointed, so you, after 3 years, you may not be reappointed because somebody else may be appointed. As a selectman, as an ex officio member, it means that you have an automatic berth onto the committee as currently constituted by being a selectman.
Now, technically, at the moment, they're supposed to count towards,
Yeah, technically, your committee is really 12 people.
wow,
yeah,
9 plus the 3. So we're really just
makes
a
sense.
quorum.
yeah.
So I'm personally in favor of not having the selectmen on the, first of all, they don't attend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what,
They're busy on
They
their
may.
own. And it's just more of an added burden.
Can you
again, to
change
make
that? Can we
quorum.
change that?
Well, that's what we're
Yeah.
discussing
Right.
now, is what do we change, if anything?
So as a committee, we have to decide what we're comfortable with. I think we're gonna need to vote on it, and that we're gonna, and whatever we vote is gonna be our united front that we're gonna present.
I see, okay, so it's still, we still have to present it to the Board of Selectmen and to the town meeting?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have to determine what
What we
changes we
wanna
want to
do, yeah,
make.
right.
Because
Whatever
we
we
have to
have.
change the bylaw and then present it to the bylaw study committee.
Okay,
And then they're going to review it, give their recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. Then the Board of Selectmen are going to talk about it, and then it will get to us, and then it will go to town meeting.
okay.
It's a
So
process.
this is
Love
the-
being involved in town government, Scott?
So this
I
is
do.
really where we
Learn something new every day.
make the change if we're going to make it. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, we know that the situation we're in is kind of untenable. We we know it's not working for us, so we do need to find a reasonable solution that's not gonna step on anybody's toes. And I think that where we've advertised and tried to get members up to the level of 9, and we're not successful, we should face reality and say, well, maybe that's not a good number. And 7 is probably more reasonable.
Because the quorum is the key.
The quorum is the difficulty
So
with
I'm in
voting.
favor of 7.
Yeah, I am too. And I'm not sure what the purpose of having the selectmen be part of the meeting if they're, part of the board, if they're not really part of any of the meetings, and what the role, what the purpose of that is. I mean, does it just give them the option to come if they want and be voting members?
Well,
or-
it's an open meeting, anybody can come
We're
in
just an
any-
advisory committee, we're not,
Yeah,
you know,
I
so I
know.
mean, they have the right or depth to make the decisions. We're just kind of expressing
Right.
what our thoughts are.
Recommendations.
Right.
Yeah, we're
Right, we just give
advising.
the
Right. Why would they
recommendations,
come
so.
here if they're
I mean-
gonna do it at their own meeting?
Right.
I never knew that before, so
I
I
didn't
don't think
either.
it should bother, but I mean, at least if you go to 7 and you use the 3, you're down to 10, right? But I do understand that, you know, it's a hard thing to get folks, so.
But the
Any chance of
quorum's
paying
based
people?
on 7, not 10, so.
No,
That would be your advisory
Right
opinion
now,
to
the
town
quorum is
meeting,
supposed to be
right?
based on 12.
So, yeah.
So there's 3 issues, right? 9 to 7 members, Board of Selectmen as members, and is it the committee to select the finance committee that we want to choose, or the moderator?
So are you saying we don't have a quorum tonight?
we didn't vote, well, we voted on a couple things, and technically there's 6 of us.
Technically, there's 6.
But if
So
it
that is a
drops at
quorum?
all, or, 1 or 2 people,
But what other option do we have? Where there are no other members. I mean, tonight Melissa couldn't make it, but
Right.
aside from us.
oh, yeah, but I mean, if we drop the selectmen, then the quorum number goes down.
Correct.
Oh, I didn't
Okay.
know they were part of the
Yeah,
quorum.
Yes.
yeah,
So-
that's what I'm asking. So what is the
So I would
quorum?
be in
6
favor of
people is the
reducing
minimum we
those
have to
3
have?
votes.
It would be 7, wouldn't it?
So right now, we're 9 plus 3 is 12. We could go to 7 plus 3 is 10, or just 7,
Yeah,
and that would make it,
4.
that would make it 4.
Yeah.
Which
a little more.
is a lot more doable.
I'm
for a
just
town
trying to
of
figure out
7
what it
where
is
gets
now.
7,000.
Well, right now, technically 12, so 6.
Yeah.
6.
6 is the
It would
quorum
either
now?
be 6 or 7. It depends on how you read it.
Okay.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's difficult. So if, Melissa's not here, if someone else was sick, we're
Right.
out of luck.
We'd be out of luck. Right, that's exactly it.
So I'm in favor of doing that to reduce the quorum.
Yeah, me too.
Do
And
we
since
so-
they're already looking at budgets and voting on budgets through their own meeting, I'm not sure. I mean,
Right, why would they come here
Right.
when they can change it at their own?
Right.
True.
So we have 3 things to vote on as a committee.
Mm-hmm.
First one is everyone in favor to go to from 9 to 7 members?
Right.
So I'll make a motion that we.
Well, let's talk it all out first. We don't have to make a motion, do we?
She was
To
breaking
each
it
3
into the
of 'em,
compartments
yeah.
is what she was doing.
Oh.
I was gonna vote on 3 separate issues so we could know where we are on each issue.
Oh, okay. I got it.
So, do we make a motion on it, or do we just, okay. So I'm gonna make a motion that our stance is gonna be that we wanna go to 7 members.
Second.
Okay.
And that means removing the ex officio members?
Nope, we haven't even decided on that.
Oh, sorry, okay. Oh, I like that.
We're
I'm
doing
in
baby
favor.
steps.
Yeah, doing baby, yes, because there are 3 separate issues that we
Right,
need to
right.
discuss. Okay, so now, we're in favor of saying, okay, we wanna have 7, but we still have the ex officio members.
I don't think we voted yet, right? We got one, you, and then he's seconded, and then we didn't
And all,
vote.
Okay.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So, okay.
Okay, so that one's done, so, and then, I'm not saying they're talked out, I'm
No,
just
I
saying.
understand.
Okay. We should finish the maybe discussion of Board of Selectmen as members, and then.
Can we talk
finish
more
it.
about that? Because I mean, I
Yeah.
never knew they were involved to begin with, so I'm just like, is it a?
So, I mean, my guess is, look, if the finance committee was established hundreds of years ago in statute along with the board of selectmen. So my guess is part of this is just an old
Right,
adage where maybe at one time, because it also says that the chair of the finance committee can call a FinCom meeting, but the board of selectmen can also call a finance committee meeting as well. So it may very well have been back then that the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee may have done a lot of this as joint meetings, as opposed to singular meetings. And, you know, we did that once a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we've done it more than once.
So, and other towns do it that way. Doesn't necessarily mean that the Finance Committee has them as ex officio, but sometimes they do it as joint meetings. So it may very well have been originally envisioned that most of the meetings would be joint meetings between the two, and allowing both parties to be able to call the meeting. But that has not become reality, at least in the past 7 years that I've been here. You know, and you've been here longer.
Right.
So then since in reality it's not working that way, we're probably better off having a bylaw that mirrors what is actual versus theory.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Well, now, if you use that same concept and talk about the committee to appoint the committee.
Is it a different issue, though?
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
sorry,
different
I'm
issue.
jumping
Yeah.
ahead again.
Yeah, we're through, okay, so
So I'll make a motion that we
There you go.
reduce,
that we not have the Board of Selectmen as ex officio?
that's right, that's the motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
First and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's unanimous as well.
So
Jeez,
then
we
that-
just
that-
knocked out 2 people, we knocked out the Board of Selectmen, what do we got for the
I
third?
don't really think they'll mind.
I don't think they would either.
Because I agree with David, that was a time when things were different and.
That thing about the board to appoint a board is just administratively complex, and I just don't understand.
I mean, number
Does that-
3.
Yeah,
Yes,
does-
that's what we're talking about.
Does
What do we
anybody
do
know the
instead?
purpose of that? Like, why we have to have a board for a board?
So, obviously, some of this is speculation, and we can go by what the
Right.
sub-board or that subcommittee said last year,
Okay,
is that if the moderator were to do it directly, and I mean, I'll say this, I would not be in favor of the moderator doing it directly, and I'll explain why in a moment, but for different reasons. But they would argue that they don't want politics to be involved. That the finance committee, because you are not elected, and understand, some towns you are elected. In this
Some
town, we're
towns,
appointed.
yes. In Easton, they're
That is
they're
correct.
elected.
Are they?
Yes. So because you are not elected, their argument would be, and it's a legitimate argument, is that they don't want politics to come into play in reference to what your recommendations are as a finance committee.
Right.
And that if the moderator by himself or herself had the individual appointment authority, then maybe that person could use through the political persuasion to say, I'm only going to appoint people that are going to vote a
Right,
certain way.
right, yeah.
okay, that
Um,
makes sense.
My concern with that argument is that, as Scott said earlier, although you make recommendations to town meeting, it's only a recommendation.
Right,
Like, you don't actually get to say,
Right.
guess what? The moderator doesn't like the police chief. As FinCom, we're gonna delete the police chief out of the budget, and it sticks. Because
Right.
only town meeting can do that.
Right.
right,
So,
yeah,
there's
that's
a
true.
lot of checks and balances, which is what you always want in government. So, so they would not want it to be a direct link.
Right.
So that way, the 5 people that are appointed from the moderator, they're not subservient to anyone else, they're not elected, they are incapable, according to our bylaw, of sitting on any other committee in town or being an employee in town. So that way, they have no ties to anyone either. So again, they should be agnostic about what the appointments are. As we know, we're not even getting enough appointments, never mind it could be a competitive system.
Right,
But in theory, I fully understand where they're coming from.
yeah,
Meredith raises a really valid point, is, okay, if not that, then what?
then what?
Right.
My recommendation last year, after doing homework on this, was that I think, was to have the moderator, the town clerk, and the Board of Selectmen in a joint meeting, review the applications, and then they would vote to make the appointment. Now, that's not ideal, I understand why some people would have some concerns about that, but many towns have it as the moderator. And so if people want to go that route, that's fine. There's ample evidence that other towns do it that way, and that would be certainly one argument. The reason I don't like it is because I think that we have to have transparency in government. You guys have an agenda, and that's because you're legally a public body. When you meet You must post an agenda 48 hours in advance, you have to have minutes, they have to be available to everybody else, you're subject to public records laws as a result of all of that. As an individual person, as the moderator, he's not a public body. So if he receives applications, how do you know? When does he or she make the appointment? There's no minutes required.
Yeah.
There's no vetting process, and if there is, you just have to trust that that person, he or she, had a vetting process, but there's no requirement, there's no meeting on camera, right? There's no posted agenda.
Right, right.
So, I mean, I think that we've been fortunate since we've been here between Jim Benson and Jason Ross, is that I don't think there would be any malfeasance between any of those two. But again, a bylaw is supposed to survive hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you do open yourself up to potential malfeasance in the future. So that's why I don't like one person. I like it being multiple elected people because multiple elected people sometimes have different agendas. And that's okay. They hash them out in public.
Right.
They post it on the meeting. It's on the agenda. They're on camera. They're in front of a body. Their minutes are public. They're subject to a public records law. All of those things. And if the 5 of them are doing something that is wrong, they can be not
Everybody knows
reelected.
about it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they can be not reelected.
Right.
So I think that there's more transparency through that. Now, I understand some people will say, but the selectmen have 3 votes and the other 2 could always lose, so it would be 3-2. But the selectmen always don't vote in concert. Again, they're voting for an advisory committee that the selectmen and the finance committee budgets both go to town meeting.
Right.
So town meeting gets to see both anyway. So I don't think that it could be as corrupted as some people may argue. But again, I understand why somebody may argue that. And that doesn't mean that there can't be some 3rd, 4th, or 5th option. I thought in fairness, because those 5 people would be really good choices, I thought that made sense for the reasons I stated. But you could post that you want to be elected. And therefore you don't have to worry about this. There's a process to that. You couldn't do that this year. But if that's what you'd rather do, you could have an election instead.
So remind me though how that committee got formed, to the committee to appoint the committee?
I'm moderator.
He just pulled people in, anybody he chose?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we still have to, any appointment still has to be approved by the selectmen.
No.
No,
No.
doesn't, couldn't remember whether,
No.
okay. So it's a direct appointment and
Yes.
that's it.
So there was 2 issues. One is what I said earlier, and then your bylaw, which I really think
I
is.
just wrote that down on the
Yeah, okay,
timeline.
good. Yes.
I wrote that down.
Because your bylaw has ambiguous language about when the subcommittee should be appointed. It says within 60 days. Is that before 60 days or after 60 days? Town council has taken the position that it's after 60 days for obvious reasons.
Right,
Yeah.
it wouldn't work before.
It wouldn't work before.
What's after 60 days?
At town meeting.
Right. So within 60 days after town meeting, the moderator should appoint a subcommittee that will then appoint a finance committee. So now you have 10 months to review whatever it is that you want for the next future town meeting. So it's a legitimate interpretation of the clause. But what that also meant is that in some years, in fact many years, the moderator did not appoint somebody within 60 days.
That's right.
Yeah,
So then it became non-compliant with the bylaw.
right,
Yeah, we went years.
That happened a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think I was appointed like a
Took
couple
forever.
days before the first meeting. We got a live one.
so
So that
that's why.
seems to make sense, David. You know, you can't get any more transparent. I mean,
So that's why if you went with the moderated town clerk and the board of selectmen, then you could say that they couldn't have to appoint a finance committee within 60 days after town meeting. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really up to you as to what you want to make for a recommendation and whatever town meeting wants to approve.
Well, we want it to be transparent, we want it to make sense,
It needs to make sense.
you know,
Needs to make
so
sense.
I think what discussed with, you know,
And we need to lose the inefficiency.
right.
Would they'll have to reappoint again within 60 days with another finance?
Well, you can still have 3-year terms or whatever, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
3-year terms, yes.
So if you do, correct, Jerry's correct, your current one right now is 3-year terms staggered. So that means that every single year, in theory, they would be appointing or reappointing 3 people. So I think if we go to 7, we would have to rewrite it, where it would be staggered 3, 3, 1, or
3,
2,
2,
2, 2, exactly. However you want to stagger
Right,
it.
yeah.
Because if you look, the original appointment for the finance committee, the original appointment to get to that 3-3 was the first year, somebody was appointed for 1 year, somebody was appointed for 2.
Right, yeah.
So that
That's
would-
how it works on most boards. so.
Exactly, and then,
Yeah.
once you got into the rotation, then it was every 3 years.
Yeah.
So we would just have to spell that out. And I don't mind doing some of the work and write it out and have Meredith approve it, because she's on the bylaw study committee, so then she could bring it to the bylaw study committee.
Yeah, I've already
But-
given them a heads up.
All right, but the key is that as a committee, are you conceptually in favor of doing that? Because you're the committee that's going to have to speak in favor or against at town meeting. But I do think that whoever votes in favor of it, then everybody should be able to count on the other person to be able to speak in favor. And if you vote against it, then obviously you know that that person will probably be against it.
Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense in terms of the transparency and the ease of administration, you know.
I hate to ask someone who has been volunteering to appoint our committee that we take away their position or eliminate that step. But at the same time, it's inefficient.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's locking up those 4 or 5 volunteers from
Plenty
being
of
with our,
jobs
from our
in
board.
government form,
Yeah.
you know, other jobs they might be interested in.
So what are you in favor of?
Me? I'm in favor of the 7. I'm looking at taking out the Board of Selectmen. I would like to see it staggered 3, 2, 2 over the 3-year terms.
Yeah, but who appoints the committee?
Oh, no, I like the idea of the
Have the
town
application
moderator,
go to the,
the town
Town people,
clerk,
yeah.
and the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
in favor of
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
So can I
It
make a
seems to make
motion?
the
It
most
makes the
sense.
most sense.
Those people are going to be fairly easy to get together. It's,
Right.
there's, the rule will be
Why don't you
followed
make it,
better.
Mark?
Make a motion that we
Recommend that,
recommend that the appointing body be town moderator, town clerk, and the 3 selectmen.
I'll second it.
First and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Okay.
So do we have to make a motion that we're gonna amend the bylaw based on these things that we just discussed?
That goes
or
to
is that
study or-
okay?
And then the only other thing I would ask is if you're in favor, if we could just clean up the language to
Yeah.
state within 60 days after town meeting.
oh, absolutely.
And then, yes, I would just make a motion that you are requesting to amend the bylaw with those changes. And that way the minutes will be captured. And then my recommendation would be, Meredith probably as chair, is if you just send an email out to both the town clerk and the moderator so they know. And I don't mind speaking to them as well, but where it's coming from this chair, or coming
Okay.
from this body, it's important for them to know that it's the committee that's
Maybe
that's
this
showing
is-
leadership on this.
Right, so let's just seal up that last point, that we're all in favor of, I'll say, like a motion that our timeline will be within 60 days after town meeting.
Yeah.
That's a
I'll
motion.
second
That's a
it.
motion, thank
Yeah.
you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So passes unanimously. And something to keep in mind for next year. I mean, worst case scenario, I'm running for selectman. If
Right.
I do get in, my spot's open, and then I don't know what your future is.
Right.
So
Changes, a lot of changes.
there's a lot of potential changes here.
Yeah.
But at least what Meredith and I wanted to try to accomplish was to have a united front going
Oh,
forward.
yes, we needed to think it up.
Not
as a
everyone was in
unit, yeah.
favor of this idea, so we all have to be.
With the
on same-
committee, you mean?
Well, we're changing the bylaw at all.
Yeah.
Not
So-
everyone, meaning not necessarily people in this committee, but
Correct.
not everyone.
Not everyone at the town meeting is going to be in favor of it.
Right.
So as long as we're prepared for that.
So, I mean, I understand you go from 8 to down to the 7, but is there also going to talk about maybe limit on how long people stay in that seat? Do you want to bring that up?
We're already having a hard enough time filling the seats. Do we want to limit?
Well, what I'm saying, if there's no one running against, you don't go up, but what you're saying is you also don't wanna keep people on the outs. Like, if you're saying you have a 3-limit term,
A
Three-year
three-year
term.
term,
three-year term, there's no limit to the number.
that's what I'm saying, but do you
Do we-
raise that at some point, just for, cause you've been on it for how long?
Are you afraid that I'm gonna die?
Nope,
in my
nope,
seat?
no, I'm just asking, while you're opening it
Good
up and you're
question.
looking
Well,
at
I
it, it's
mean,
just a
wouldn't-
question, you don't, I'm not saying you have to,
You know,
but
that's a
just
good
while you're
question.
looking at it,
But wouldn't
it's to
the,
keep new blood, maybe let people
Yeah.
change, again.
wouldn't the
just-
process though be that, let's just say my term's
Right.
up, my 3 years are
Right.
up,
Right.
and then you
There's
have
to
another
reevaluate.
person,
Right,
and
and then
that,
someone
at
has to
that
be
point.
reappointed.
Right.
Right.
But
And I think
I
if
don't-
someone's looking to find out information, the
Right.
first person we're gonna, or the two people they're gonna call is the town
Right.
clerk or the Board of Selectmen's office. So
Right.
they're gonna be the ones who
Like I
hear
said,
about
just
someone.
thinking about it, if,
We
while
we
you're
used to have a lot of
cracking.
members when I first started, there were people who were not
Right.
reappointed.
Oh,
remember
yeah, I
people-
remember that.
Right.
Oh, wait, that was even, I'm thinking of before you
And
came on,
again,
there
you're
was
probably
a,
right, we're having a hard
there
time
was a-
getting folks, it's
Yeah,
just, like I
so-
said, if you're looking at it, let's look at it from a couple of different
But then they have
directions.
the option of not reappointing.
Yeah,
Because what if that person, I don't know what it is, but just to move it over, so you don't have that same blood, because it makes sense to keep it moving, but again, it also keeps sense to keep people in the same area, but sometimes it's not, it's a group that are giving suggestions.
yeah.
Do you want to
Yeah.
suggest the same thing for 20 years?
Well,
not
I
necessarily.
feel like though,
Right?
Right.
Inclusiveness, diversity kind of thinking,
Yeah.
that's all I'm thinking.
No,
I feel like though if you put a limit on it, let's just say you can only do 2 terms, and then you don't have anyone else, now you're in a problem where
Right.
you
Yeah,
can't
now you're in
find
a
anybody to
situation,
fill the
right.
seat, right?
Right.
Again, if,
all right, so who are you trying to bump off?
no one, I'm just,
I've been here 12 years, you're trying to kick
maybe
me
I'm
off?
bumping you off.
That must be it.
I think
No.
Scott's for term limits.
No, I'm just asking.
Throwing it out
No,
there.
no, it's a good
And-
topic, just to say.
We're just advisory, really,
Right.
you know,
Right.
no more than that.
Just trying to spice it up.
You're spicy, you're spicy.
Thank you.
All right, does anyone have any other business to
Do
bring
we,
before
next
the?
meetings, do we have those nailed down?
We have-
Oh, so, sorry, so what are next steps on the bylaw thing?
I will reach out to the bylaw study committee, let them know we're working on it. I'll reach out
Okay.
to the board of, not the board of selectmen, you got that. The town moderator and town clerk, let them
Okay.
know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Do you want to be in touch with the committee to appoint a committee, or would you like me to?
You have to,
Because I can
tell
Facebook
Julie or
message.
again.
I'll
I have to get all
message.
the contact information, that's all, I'm not sure I have all the contact information for everyone.
I'll see who I can find.
What have you.
Gotta find the committee to come
It sounds like government.
Since you're letting them.
Government.
Let him, it's really his committee.
Oh, all right, I
So
can
maybe
do.
just have them ask the moderator, let them inform them.
But I'd love to be able to reach out, I'd love to be able to reach out to let them know what our
I think
so,
logic
too, out of
is.
fairness.
Because I think, doesn't the moderator just grab them when he needs them? It's not like they're, are they
That's correct.
an ongoing committee, or does
They are an
he?
ongoing committee
Oh,
for 1
okay.
year.
Oh, I see,
But this
okay.
is their only
That is correct.
requirement, though.
That is correct.
Oh, I see, okay. I thought he just pulled people together when he needed them. I didn't realize they were official.
No, they serve a 1-year term.
He goes down to Duncan and goes, hey.
Seriously?
I didn't know.
Can I see your driver's license immediately?
We're getting a cup of coffee with that?
All right, anyone have anything else for the committee? No. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
When are the next meetings again?
Oh, I'm
Next
sorry,
meeting.
I forgot. Oh, March 5th, there you go,
After that, anything?
probably.
Probably.
March 19th.
March 19th.
Oh, and when was the school committee?
Monday,
This coming?
yeah. I called her and asked her, yeah.
February 24th.
Yeah.
Operated on that
Well, do you know what time, Melanie?
Would anyone
I
like to
don't,
make a
but I was
motion?
gonna call him,
Make a
probably
motion to
6,
adjourn.
Is
6:30.
there first, second, all those in favor?
Second, in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll find out.